but hey. All right, so I know you guys have practiced the eyeball. I have some samples there. And then now that we've talked about the color schemes and the background and being inspired by Mr. Ron Burns, I have here, and I'm more than happy to print out more, some samples of his pieces if you want one of similar coloring, because I wanted to do Jackson. He's kind of a yellow dog, so I'm going yellow, but I'm going to put some purple in there, and so I chose my color scheme as the split complement as yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow, orange, and then purple. So I have these. I have the yellow, cadmium yellow medium here. I did lighter versions of each of those just to kind of play with things. I didn't quite get this background done, but I would recommend doing your 3 background parts or 2 background parts, your solid colors. You can always go back and add textures and things. He did that on some of his pieces too. If you want to be inspired by that look also, feel free. But to get those in, because simply the layering of your paint will push the dog in front of the background. So simply just by pulling up those different layers will help. Now, so I'm going to start with kind of my lighter yellows in here. And then, no, I'm not. I'm going to start more with my complements in the darks and then build up my lighter layers in front. I was thinking I would do this. But if you kind of go front to back, and as you build those layers, put them all together, you're going to get more of a depth in your paint and more of a depth in like the look of things. So don't be afraid to use enough paint that it's opaque the first time, because you want to be mixing your colors and building layers and thinking about the fur of your animal so that the direction and length of your mark is similar to the direction and length of the fur that you see. So his ears are dark. So my darks are this purple, and it got really dark. And I would recommend too, once you have your color scheme mix up, put a little bit of that slow dry in there. Wow, that is really purpley. Maybe with the yellow it'll be less purpley looking. It's a little too much water because I do want it to be opaque. Mix a little bit of that slow dry in there so that your paint dries a little bit. And like I'm talking a drop or a little tiny glob. You don't need a whole lot. Or what tends to happen is your paint is no longer opaque. So I know that his fur and the direction of this, see, I should have done that last side. I'll go over that edge. This is extra dark, so maybe I'd take this other like really dark and move in here. But I like to work things up as a whole, the way I think of things. This is the light, and this is why we blocked out color, because I know these little parts here, can you see okay? Sorry. I know those parts are the light parts. So I'm going to start by going around the whole thing, and we're going to pretend my eyes are done. I did my eyes there for the demo. I'm going to, he would have started with those, so I recommend starting with those. But remember, those are going to be mostly a more realistic color because they tend to look a little freaky if they're not somewhat realistic. So I'm taking my purple, which is my dark value. Remember, we're thinking in dark to light values, and this goes. So now I'm on the edge. Be thinking about your edges. Be thinking what about your edges? You want them to have enough thickness, and if I anchor my hand like this, remember, and smooth, make one smooth line, I can even that out. So his ear comes in here, this is the darkest in here. I want this edge here. And because it's acrylic, it dries quickly, right? So this is basically almost like an underpainting here. And if you wanted, maybe I should have done that. Maybe I want to do an underpainting with the lighter version of my dark purple. I just might do that. I'm going to come around and put all my darks in first. And I'm going to go on top of these because this isn't pure dark. But I'm thinking about the movement of my mark and getting all these dark values in underneath to start. So I have these here. He's a little bit darker around his nose. This is a little darker. This is very dark here. Oop, more water. And I'll come back in and add more details in a little bit. But right now, I'm getting basic shapes and dark values in there. Here's pretty dark. I've never had a dog before this dog where like his skin is black. I didn't realize that. I was like, what's wrong with the skin? I don't know, is that typical? Are most dogs have black skin? And my little dog growing up wasn't like that? I don't even know. So this is a dark, but I'm just coming around. His tail is dark. And the more you think of working up as a whole, the more it's going to develop into a more unified painting. Because as you get more and more detailed, and actually as your skills get better, even in one painting they'll get better, then you kind of work the whole thing up together. It'll look like a real cohesive piece. So I have this, this is dark, he's darker over here, he's darker over here, that's a little too thin. I am going to do a really light underpainting and build on top of it, because even in his lighter skinned areas, I want to see my lines, which is going to be a problem, isn't it? Good thing I have my pencil. Some of these need to be darkened for my underpainting. Try and do this fast. You don't have to spend too long watching me. There. Let's do this. Let's make it quick. Because then I can even go on top of it with a lighter color, and all those pieces will come in there. Because even in your lighter areas, if there's a variation in the fur, having a little bit of dark underneath it will make it easier to blend and kind of get a unified, cohesive color. This is called, I haven't taught this project in a while, and wouldn't it be a good idea if this was in there too? Normally you do the underpainting under the other painting. Mm-hmm. Good, good, good. I'm being totally quick. Mm-hmm. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Good, done. Okay. Doesn't have to be pretty. Is the nutshell. All right. That kind of clean. I don't like leaving brushes in the water too long. Especially if it's warm water, it loosens the ferrule, which is the metal part. Okay, so I got this. Now I need some colors to do things more exciting. I'm going to go back to my round brush just because I want to see the movement in his fur. So I'm cleaning off my brush. I'm not doing this, remember. Oh, little sparks, 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 drops. Wouldn't it be cool if when you did your brush, it's like, if I were magic, it would be like that, but I'm not. So, all right, so now I have these sort of medium values. I decided this red-orange was going to be my medium value up here. So I'm going to bring this in. Oh, and luckily, this is still a little bit wet, so I can add some brush strokes into how his fur goes there. There's a little bit of, and because I have a wet underpainting here, that's coming up a little bit, and that's okay. There's a little bit of dark here along this edge. This is a little bit darker along here, top of his ear. This got a little drier overnight, so we'll come back here. This comes in here. There we go. That's too thin. I would like some actual thickness to the paint. I'm going to come back to that once the underpainting is dried and lighten that up a little bit. And then here it's a little lighter, and maybe, you know, one of the things that I think is cool about Ron Byrne's work that inspires me is that there's multiple colors in like random spaces. So even though I have this yellow-orange color here, I might just go back and add little bits of the with my needle brush of the yellow-green. Maybe I should finish distracted. So we'll get these in there. And then this, at the green. So I'm going to take some yellow green now and put some of this in here. Oh, this is nice. This is nice for a brush stroke, this little guy. I like how that's coming in there. So it's a similar value, so I can blend it and make it all fit together. But I am mixing another color into it, so it's giving me a nice variation. I think that's too thick. So maybe I'll come back, put a little bit of the purple on my brush, bring that in. So even though this is already there and started to dry, I can come back in because I have those colors saved and mix that in like that. And this is actually a little bit lighter, so I can take some of that goop on my brush and put it in. So I'm starting working with it as a whole as I'm doing the first like underpainting, but then you do end up getting a little more detailed as you move to different areas. So that's kind of the lighter in there. Now here it's actually really pretty light, so maybe I'll do some of this. And I know that his fur kind of comes out from here and moves in this way. So I'm gonna go, let's see, there's a little indent in his head. Let's make that the yellow green. Now, there's dark and light in there. So I'm gonna get a little bit of the dark on my brush and put it in there and just sort of dab it. And then I'm gonna take the yellow green and put that in there. This should be darker. I should have had more paint on my brush. I'm trying to go fast. I would go back and redo that if I wanted to continue and show you guys more stuff on here. Now here where it's lighter, this is, I believe, this was supposed to be that lighter, but it doesn't seem like it, does it? Huh, interesting. I don't know what that is, but we're gonna use it. Touch of water so it flows nicer, but I still want a thickness to it. And I'll start to blend that in there. Again, he has some darker spots in here, like this kind of comes down, it's lighter here. So if this is my light, maybe I'll put some of this here. Maybe then I'll come back with these. That seems like a warmer color to me. So I'm gonna get the yellow orange, put that in here. So the values, again, need to stay the same. The colors can change, I can play, I can have fun, but I'm coming back and making sure my values, this is lighter, that kind of pushes that back, are the same. And I'm using a brush stroke. I don't necessarily use the tip, but I'm using a brush stroke that gives an indication of the length and direction of his fur. Is it starting to make sense? Yeah. Do you want me to keep going, or do you want to play on your own? Questions about different things you have, things that I can answer, or are you like, enough, Miss Rosen, stop speaking? Okay, I'm done. Thank you.